In the rugged borderlands of 15th century Eastern Europe, where mountains, forests, and rivers formed natural fortresses, the Principality of Wallachia stood in a dangerous position. It was a small land caught between giants. The Kingdom of Hungary to the north and west, and the expanding Ottoman Empire pressing steadily from the south. It was here, around the year 1431, that Vlad III was born, likely in the Transylvanian town of Sighisoara. The region was part of the Kingdom of Hungary at the time, though it lies within modern Romania today. From the beginning, Vlad's life was shaped by shifting borders and constant political tension. His father was Vlad II, later known as Vlad Dracula, a Wallachian noble who became associated with the Order of the Dragon, a Christian chivalric order founded to oppose Ottoman expansion. Membership in such an order carried both prestige and expectation. Wallachia was expected to stand as a defensive barrier at the edge of Christendom. The surname Dracula, meaning dragon, became linked to Vlad II through this order, and Vlad III would later be called Dracula, meaning son of the dragon. Over time, that name would echo far beyond Wallachia, taking on a legend of its own. But Vlad's childhood was not the sheltered upbringing of a distant royal court. Wallachia was unstable, its rulers constantly threatened by rival nobles at home and foreign powers abroad. Loyalty could shift overnight, and survival depended on ruthless calculation. As a young boy, Vlad learned early that power in Wallachia was fragile. Princes were raised up and torn down quickly, and the boyar aristocracy, the powerful noble class, often decided the fate of rulers as much as any foreign army. In the 1440s, Wallachia's position grew even more precarious. The Ottoman Empire demanded tribute and obedience, while Hungary expected resistance. Like many frontier rulers, Vlad II attempted to navigate between these forces, sometimes aligning with one side, sometimes the other, in order to preserve his throne. To guarantee Wallachia's loyalty, the Ottoman Sultan Mehmed II demanded hostages, an established practice in medieval diplomacy. Vlad III and his younger brother Radu were sent to the Ottoman court, where they remained for several years. These years in Ottoman custody were formative. Vlad was exposed to the discipline and organization of a vast imperial system. He also witnessed the brutal realities of power politics at the highest level. While the details of his daily life are not fully documented, historians agree that this period left a deep mark on his worldview. Then, in 1447, disaster struck Vlad's family. His father was overthrown amid internal conflict, captured, and killed. Around the same time, Vlad's older brother Mircea was also murdered, reportedly blinded and buried alive, according to later accounts. The exact motivations and perpetrators remain debated in parts, but the outcome was clear. Vlad returned from captivity to a homeland where his family had been destroyed, and the throne was occupied by rivals. Wallachia had become a battleground, not only between empires, but between competing noble factions. The young Vlad was entering a political world soaked in betrayal. In 1448, still a teenager, Vlad briefly claimed the Wallachia throne with Ottoman support. His first reign lasted only a matter of weeks or months before Hungarian-backed forces restored his rival, Vladislav II. Vlad fled into exile, moving through neighboring regions such as Moldavia and possibly deeper Ottoman territory. For several years, his life becomes difficult to trace in detail, but it is clear that he was gathering experience, alliances, and a deeper understanding of the geopolitical game surrounding Wallachia. By the mid-1450s, the balance of power shifted again. Vlad found support from Hungary, whose leaders saw him as a useful counterweight against Ottoman influence. In 1456, Vlad returned with military backing and confronted Vladislav II. Accounts suggest Vladislav was killed in the struggle, possibly in direct combat. Vlad III then took the throne once more, this time with far greater determination to hold it. Wallachia he inherited was devastated. Years of war and factional violence had shattered trade, emptied villages, and weakened central authority. Banditry and corruption flourished. The boyars remained powerful and often disloyal. Vlad responded with severity. He sought to break the power of rival nobles and enforce centralized rule with harsh punishments. Impalement, already known in the region as a method of execution, became strongly associated with his reign. This is the origin of his enduring epithet, Vlad Tepes, Vlad the Impaler. Contemporary and near-contemporary sources, especially from hostile Saxon towns and foreign courts, describe gruesome scenes of punishment. Modern historians caution that many accounts were exaggerated as propaganda, but few doubt that Vlad used terror deliberately as a political tool. He intended to send a message: rebellion would be fatal. One of the most famous stories describes an Easter gathering where boyars were arrested and executed or forced into labor. While the precise details vary between sources, Vlad clearly pursued retribution against elites he viewed as responsible for his family's destruction. He also elevated new men into positions of authority. Lesser nobles, soldiers, and officials depended on his favor, reducing the old aristocracy's grip on the state. Vlad's rule was not only about internal control. The Ottoman threat remained constant. In the late 1450s and early 1460s, Vlad increasingly resisted Ottoman demands, including tribute and military submission. He launched raids across the Danube into Ottoman-held territory, striking villages and outposts. These attacks escalated into open conflict. In 1462, Sultan Mehmed II, the conqueror of Constantinople, personally led a massive campaign against Wallachia. Estimates of Ottoman troop numbers vary widely, but the invasion was formidable. Vlad could not meet such a force in open battle. Instead, he relied on scorched earth tactics, guerrilla warfare, and psychological intimidation. The most famous episode of this campaign was the so-called Forest of the Impaled, described by several chroniclers. A gruesome display of executed prisoners placed along the road near the Wallachian capital of Targovish. The exact number is uncertain, and medieval sources often inflated figures, but the shock was real. Even Ottoman accounts suggest the campaign was deeply unsettling. One dramatic night attack, in which Vlad attempted to strike the Ottoman camp directly, nearly reached the Sultan himself. Though it failed to kill Mehmed, it demonstrated Vlad's audacity. Ultimately, however, Vlad could not sustain the war alone. Wallachian nobles defected to his brother Radu, who was supported by the Ottomans and promised a more stable relationship with the empire. By the end of 1462, Vlad's position collapsed. He fled toward Hungary, seeking support from King Matthias Corvinus. Instead, Vlad was arrested. The reasons remain debated. Political convenience, diplomatic pressure, and forged documents may all have played roles. Vlad spent years in Hungarian captivity, perhaps more than a decade, while Wallachia continued to change rulers under Ottoman influence. In the mid-1470s, the political landscape shifted once more. Vlad was released and supported again as a potential ruler who could resist Ottoman control. In 1476, he reclaimed the throne briefly for a final time, but his return was short-lived. Later that year, Vlad was killed during fighting, either in battle or through assassination. The exact circumstances remain unclear, as medieval sources conflict. Tradition holds that his severed head was sent to Constantinople as proof of death, though even this detail cannot be confirmed with certainty. His burial site is also disputed. Some legends place him at Snagov Monastery, others at Kumana, but archaeology has not produced a definitive answer. Yet Vlad's death did not end his story. In the decades after his reign, German pamphlets portrayed him as a monstrous tyrant, while some Romanian traditions remembered him as a harsh but necessary defender of order. Centuries later, in the 19th century, Western writers encountered his name, and Bram Stoker would borrow Dracula for a fictional vampire count transforming a Wallachian warlord into a global myth. But the historical Vlad III was not a supernatural creature. He was a frontier prince, ruling a small and vulnerable land at the collision point of empires. His methods were brutal, sometimes horrifying, and often magnified by propaganda. Yet his reign also reflects the desperate realities of 15th century statecraft, where survival could demand cruelty, and where fear itself could become a weapon. Vlad the Impaler remains one of history's most unsettling figures, a ruler shaped by violence, defined by resistance, and remembered in equal parts as tyrant, defender, and legend. In the shadowed forests of Wallachia, his name still lingers. Half history, half myth, on the frontier where empires once collided.